this session, this part of the session was actually is going to be about how you can work with Cisco, right? So we first we presented you with the platforms, with the solutions, with the vision as well on the smart cities, right? And hopefully it was useful, and you got some ideas. So now we wanted to talk about which programs you can use within Cisco, and Cisco in Russia specifically, who you can work with and how to actually work together, right? To develop something on top of Cisco technology. So that's the purpose. And again, if there's any questions, please just interrupt me at any time. So in general, innovation is quite important for Cisco, right? For any IT company, it's important, but Cisco is actually one of the leaders in the area. We have been investing a lot. It's like 13% of the total sales is an innovation budget, annual innovation budgets. There've been a lot of patents, a lot of research and development has done in company. So that's one of the key foundations for our innovation, right? Then we also acquire companies as well. If we see there's a company, could be a small startup, could be a large company. If we see there's a potential, the company that is working on the market transition, that's what Anil has been mentioning, the new coming trends that has not become trends yet. But if there's some adjacencies with what we're doing, and we see there's a potential, in many cases we acquire companies. So in the last several years, there have been billions of dollars of investments. And the most recent one in the IT space was Jasper platform, right, which is also actually works in Russia as well. So we also obviously work with partners, right? So it's not just we develop in-house and we also acquire companies, but we also work with partners. So in general, about 80 to 90% of Cisco sales is coming through the channel, through the partner channel. So this is just the regular sales of the products. But what we also do is we actually develop a lot of innovation together, right? So we develop new, especially that's relevant for the IT space, for the smart city space. We actually develop end-to-end solutions for transportation, for cities, for traffic, for utilities, for anything, based on our essentially the partners that produce actuators. So the end devices, the traffic lights, the electric meters, which we don't produce, right? Based on the sensors, which we don't produce as well, right? But also based on the software and applications which they create. So some process control systems for specific manufacturing environments, for intelligent transportation systems, the special types of situational analytics for video, etc. So there's a lot of things that we don't do actually. We do a lot of things in the networking space, in the data management space, but we don't do everything. We're not experts in the specific industries. So hence we actually have to work very closely with the partners. And what we want is obviously to encourage the partners to innovate together with us, so that we want the partners to become successful. So hence this is like a really important part. I should say one of the key parts of our innovation journey is the partnerships. And the key is to integrate everything, all these three elements, how we integrate it together, right? That is actually offerings to the customer, right? That's it's seamless. The customer does not have to worry, if there's an end-to-end solution for transportation, right? And which consists of several technologies, Cisco technologies, some startup technologies, and something does not work, who do they come to? Who is the responsible person? How they can fix it, right? So it has to be all integrated, working seamlessly. So we actually going to talk more about that partnership piece of this, right? So we have quite a few programs at Cisco that have been designed and already work for quite a few years, very successfully, to help our partners, startups, and larger companies as well, to essentially to work together with us and to develop some successful solutions to the market. So one of these programs is called DevNet Program, right? So essentially it's the kind of informational source for Cisco technologies, right? So you can get all the documentation, you can get APIs, and it's not only about smart cities, it's in general about all Cisco technologies, right? So You also have sandboxes that you can play with. You have different types of forums and the labs and etc. Right? So there's basically it's the full set of all the information essentially that you need is available, and it's free of charge, right? So you don't really have to pay; you just need to register at Cisco.com, right? And there's no fee for that. So that's a great tool, and again, it's great for cities, it's great for manufacturing, it's great for just traditional IT solutions, right? So you can essentially find there all the relevant information on anything that we do together, either we do ourselves or we do together with our partners. So there is also some activities that are being done within that program. So hackathons is one of them. There are some hackathons which are organized on a global basis, meaning that there are teams from all around the world participate. There are also some hackathons that we organize here locally in Russia by just the local team here. And for example, the most recent one was in April. Yana, please correct me if I'm wrong, in Yekaterinburg, right? So there were actually, I think, 6 companies, 6 teams were participating, right? And they developed actually quite a few of the really good solutions. And the winners of that hackathon were actually we're presenting their solution together with Cisco at Cisco booth at Inaprom. So Inaprom is the largest industrial fair of Russia. The Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev always participates in it. So Cisco has been historically speaking there at the plenary session at the same stage with Medvedev. And it's not just the ability to participate at Cisco booth, but we also help them to work together to find the potential customers, right? And also, if there's something interesting that we kind of integrate further along the partnership, Cisco could invest even themselves. So hackathons is a great tool, and we actually have been using it a lot. So the internationally one, the last one, was taking place, I think, in the UK just sometime in September. So it's almost every month somewhere there is a hackathon that is relevant to the areas that DevNet is focusing on, right? And the IoT is one of them, smart cities is one of them as well. There's also forums, so there are different types of forums. So you can essentially get the answer within 24 hours to any question that you may have from the community. The community is huge. I don't have the exact numbers, but it's I think it's hundreds of thousands of people there. So it's a great program, right? Again, it doesn't cost anything. It's a source to a lot of information. At the end, I will provide the contact information who you can work with to get all these links and to answer your questions. So another program which is called somewhat similar, but it's actually a different type of program, is DevNet Create. So this one is essentially is around creating not only the information depository and forums, information exchange on the different technologies, Cisco and third-party technologies, but it's also about actually creating a lab, a real lab with with stuff in it, with software, with hardware, with the 3D printers, etc. Right? So this one is obviously it's not that easy to participate, right? So there's a process to get admitted, etc. But essentially, usually it's it's been done either together with a university or a large company or a city itself, right? So they let's say it's a university at Skolkovo could actually allocate space, right? Provide the connectivity, and we allocate the hardware, software, the platforms, obviously all the access to the DevNet information and documents as well. And also there is a TP, telepresence is usually part of that as well, so that this kind of innovation hub can communicate with other innovation hubs around the world, right? So you can actually do different, like many video calls with on different topics, right? That may be of interest. And you can broadcast, you can connect with the companies as well, with Cisco headquarters, with other guys, with our partners around the world. So it's working very well. And the good thing is that technology, it's not just access points or some IT technology in the box. Specifically, there is the bill of materials for that type of innovation hub. It includes the routers, for example, that support fog computing, so that you can actually write some apps to analyze the data right where it's being collected, for example, right? There is also access to, let's say, CDP or in other platforms for other industries where you can create your applications on top of it. So it's all focused on kind of ability, the opportunity to develop something of value, incremental value on top of the existing technologies. And there's tools, specific hardware and software tools available. And this is just an example of the types of things that are part of that DevNet Create innovation hub, right? So it's Cisco products, but it's third-party products as well. It's sensors, 3D printers, the platforms, which is really important, right? So if you want to experiment, so essentially, the main idea is that you can try new things, and we even have some of these inside Cisco offices just for Cisco employees, for those who after work they still have some ideas and they want to experiment. And they actually in India there's one. It's called Incubator. It's been extremely successful. We opened another one in the UK just last week. So there have been a lot of ideas came out of that actually, just for internally within Cisco employees. And obviously this is for external purposes, so it's the same concept, right? So we actually opened one innovation hub in Kazan, at Kazan Federal University a couple of years ago. And the guys have produced, I think at least 6 different technologies, different solutions that work on top of our technologies and platforms. And they actually, some of them were really successful in promoting it. So this thing is real. It's not just something that on paper, it even can work in Russia, right? But the main part, obviously, is still the DevNet itself, the ability to access the codes and all the documentation. Then there is a contest actually. There is IoT Grand challenge. So it's a competition which is being conducted once a year, right? So there is a process for it. So for 2016, it's already a little bit late because right now, there's already semifinals already finished, right? So the finalists will be announced on October 25th. So, but for the next year, again, this is something that you may want to participate. I think we're getting, last year we got, I think 300,000, if I remember correctly, applications. So it's very popular actually. A lot of startups from all around the world submit their ideas, and from all the industries, from all the possible ideas. And obviously there is some specific areas which we will focus mainly, right? But it's not limited to these specific industries. So there's some monetary prizes. There is also ability to travel to Cisco headquarters. So there is some interesting solutions which we may not even have won, but they got the interest of Cisco BUs, for example, right? So there are follow-ups work that's been done, outside of the stage, but it's a great event in any case. And I think last year Russia was number 3 in terms of the number of applications, right? I think India was number 1, and I don't remember who was number 2, but I think Russia was number 3. So Cisco validated design. So we actually, believe it or not, but as I said, we focus a lot on the end-to-end solutions in the IoT space, in the smart city space. So which in some cases Cisco can represent 5 to 10% of the overall solution. Cisco is the key because we integrate all these different pieces together, right? So we enable this, the real-time connectivity, the ability to process the data, right? And we also are install base at 70% of the Fortune 500 companies. So our install base is like $50 billion. So when you come to the customer with an IoT proposal, when they already have a Cisco install base, it's much easier for them to make a decision, because that will enable a lot more features, right, on Cisco network. It's an intelligent network. So, but in any case, there's a big part of third-party products as well. So what we started doing a few years ago is, for the solutions that represent the largest market opportunity, we actually started to create like a process how we test it, certify it, and essentially provide like a quite thick document. We do it ourselves together with the partners, which is called Cisco Validated Design, CVD. Essentially, it outlines the main features of the end-to-end solution, right? The high-level architecture, the detailed architecture, the bill of materials, the customer outcomes, so everything that's relevant, right, to sell and to implement the solution. And again, it's not just about Cisco stuff. There is, half of it, in some cases, 80% of it is about our partner stuff. And this document is actually used by two main categories of users, right? One is within Cisco, it's the Cisco engineers and Cisco business development managers and sales managers, because they know that this solution has been tested, so there is no need to pilot it again with the customer for 6 months, waste 6 months, in some cases not waste, but in any case, time is critical usually, right? So this is something that already definitely has been tested, has been proven that it works on Cisco network. We can just take it and then just deploy it. That's it. It's going to work, and the customer knows that it's going to work as well. So the Cisco sales organization, which includes about 30,000 people, 25,000 people around the world, is starting to use this source, right? So they start essentially to sell your solution, your product, or third-party product in comparison to Cisco, all around the world, because they know that it works, and we don't produce this software products anyway that complements our technologies. So there is no competition, and outcomes are proven as well. So that's very important. And the second category of users is partners, channel partners, because they, as I said, we sell 80 to 90% of the business through channel, right? So partners actually play a really important role in this process. So the partners, they have their own engineering teams, right? Which in some countries are stronger than even Cisco teams, right? So they actually start using it as well, obviously, because they actually work directly with the end customers. So they also want to monetize these technologies. So this is a great, again, great way to go through this certification process. Is not very easy. It requires, quite detailed testing and certification. But again, it's mainly driven by the priorities of the business units, right? So if your solution, for example, that you present, start in DevNet, for example, and then you make Cisco familiar with it, and the BU is actually sees the big potential. So, and you try to with some projects, pilot projects, and there is good outcomes that can be validated, right? So then, obviously they would put it in the priority list. So we have quite a few of those. There's actually a big number of CVDs at Cisco, and it's very popular, right? Because you don't have to create, you don't have to have a systematic architect when there's a new project with a customer, right? In IoT space, you don't need to create a new stuff and test it, and something will not work, replace it. Not work because the design may have not been correct from the beginning. So, and this one definitely will. So the technology side is essentially it's one type of technology. So it could be more simple, for example, wireless, wide area networks. But it's the most interesting for in the IoT space is the solution. Is the solution because that involves multiple technologies, right? Both Cisco and third party, and that's where we actually primarily play in the smart city space and the industry space as well. Then there is a kind of next step. So I'm trying to kind of walk along the the path how you can increase the level of partnership with Cisco. So the next program is called Solution Partner Program, Solution Partner Plus Program. And essentially, it's a very close integration with Cisco, right? So To some extent, it's actually similar to Cisco validated design, right? But it offers more, right? So you can do, in addition to building a joint solution and testing, so this part is somewhat similar to a CVD, right? But you also get marketing tools. You can use different types of logos. You can use Cisco actually PR organization to promote the joint solution. You can, you can also use the marketing materials from Cisco as well. So which are obviously they're not available to everybody to use, right? But once you are in that program, you actually can leverage a lot of Cisco branded things. And that increased obviously the recognition of the brand, of your brand, right? Because essentially everybody knows Cisco. So you can, makes it a lot easier for you to sell and to market, right? And they're all the same tools also available for the development as we spoke before within the CVD or within the DevNet. Right? But again, the most important benefit is the ability to market and sell. There is also the most important part of this program is that when this is actually completed, we include your product, solution, software into our Cisco price list. So meaning that the 25,000 sales people everywhere across the world actually compensated on selling your stuff. Right, so they actually get paid for it. So, and that's the most powerful, right? Because and partners, by the way, as well. It's not just the Cisco guys, but the partners. So in CVD, they just they can include it, they cannot include it, depending how they see how much Cisco is in the solution, if there's other alternatives. But here, it becomes like Cisco SKU, right? So when they put together the bill of materials, to them, there's no difference if it's yours, if it's Cisco's. They get the exact same, the exact same treatment. So this one is much more difficult. There's several steps in this program as well. The first step is not difficult at all. Essentially, this is the first level. So, and the cost of it is not very high. I think it's under $3,000, between $500 and $3,000. So you get, depending on the level of your support, of your solution maturity, and the service support, the customer service, if it's 24/7 or not. So there are certain requirements that are there, but essentially for the very first level, basic level, it's quite simple to qualify. For the second level, I think you need to have a support 24/7, and for the third level, you need to have already established volumes and some strategic value on the specific segment of the market. But again, there are different levels for different types for different size of organizations. So for startups, the first two levels definitely will suffice. So I just essentially spoke on this. We will provide afterwards the details about the process itself and the links and everything. So that'll be quite easy. Then there's a solution support program. This is essentially very similar to the previous one, to the Solutions Partner Plus, but it relates to the services. So the services revenue, in the smart solution spaces, in many cases they have more than 50% of the total sale. So more and more customers, they want to consume this as a service, as managed service, etc. So, and plus, in addition to that, there's maintenance, right? So things break, and when you talk about the city infrastructure or industry infrastructure, it cannot break, because if it's just IT breaks, then maybe you lose your data, maybe your computer will freeze. But if this happens in the operational technologies, in the OT environment, then somebody can die, or it can be a major disaster, right? Imagine the transportation or something like that. So the service becomes really important, and essentially this is the program that enables Cisco, the support organization, to provide kind of seamless consolidated support for both Cisco and your part of the solution, right? So that from the customer side, they don't have to go to several companies and figure out who's doing what. And then obviously the question is, this is some of the key programs. they've been really working well, and they're getting more of this. Well, even in Russia, for example, there's quite a few companies that are part of these programs from different regions, right? It's not only from Moscow, but from all around the country. And we just wanted to make it more tangible results from this, right? So obviously we've shared information, right? So, but to make this work, we have made a decision to actually, ask one of our peers who works at Cisco, right here in Moscow, Anastasia Merkulova, to be the kind of the leader, the local leader to drive this process with you guys, so that you don't have to call each time to San Jose or to India if you have any questions, right? You actually can resolve all these topics locally, right? And Anastasia spent a lot of time at Skolkovo actually. She's been doing a lot of things related to innovation and to Skolkovo as well. So all the kind of inquiries, and she has all the details about all the programs, all the links, all the people. So she will help to connect you with the right guy. She will help to explain if something is not clear. She will actually walk you through the process if necessary, right? So we really would like to make this work. We would like to have all this general information be converted into some joint projects, right, with you guys. So let's just try it. And again, it's been, in general, worldwide, it's been showing to be a very successful program. I don't see the reason why it will not work with Skolkovo. I'm sure that it will work well. So we just need to kind of be proactive, all of us, right? And even it doesn't matter what kind of ideas you got. So let's talk about it. Let's figure out, because the market opportunities are just enormous, especially in the IT space, and we have to be really focused on the innovation, on creating some new types of services that has not been on the market before. So it doesn't matter how crazy the idea is, we can try it out. If it doesn't work, we'll fail it fast, and then we'll move on to the next idea, right? So the sooner you fail the bad idea, the better. And in many cases, it works like a number game. The more times you try new things, the higher chances of success you will get. So the statistics, actually, in the innovation statistics, startup statistics, shows that, I think there is a successful kind of idea in every 20 ideas, right? But if you do it, 50, 60 times, then the probability of success reaches like 80 or 90%. So don't be afraid to try, to experiment, right? And we're here to help you with that. Thank you.